Hello. All right, guys. So today we're going to do one of the alphabet flights from this is going to be from the Laughlin Bullhead Airport up to the there we go. Up to the Thermal Jacqueline Airport. This is part of the PilotEdge Alphabet Challenge. So I'm going to actually start today by going over our flight route. We're actually going to plan. Let's see here. We're actually going to plan our route here. So if we look on here, I've got our weather and sky vector for flight planning here. So let's go ahead and first thing we're going to do is we're going to look up our weather, which is going to be under here. We've got the Laughlin Bullhead, the IFP, and then thermal TRM. Let's get our reports here. And let's see here. Looks like if we look at our MEDARs here, winds at Bullhead are 190 at 4 knots, visibility is 10, skies are clear. Yeah, everything looks pretty good on there. And winds are variable at 3 out of thermal, and weather's clear there as well. So looks like we'll have a good flight. We can either do this VFR or IFR, and it doesn't look like anybody's really in the chat. So since we're doing this on PilotEdge, let's we'll do it as an IFR flight, just for grins. Let's see. We'll take a look at the air mets as well, and that actually looks good. Okay, so we're gonna got our departure out of KIFP and our destination KTRM. And we've got our direct right there. We're on our VFR sectional, so if we actually switch to the World Low Airways route, we can see we've got a couple of routes that we can choose. Let's actually, let's do this. Let's proceed direct to the Needles VOR. I'll take Victor 208 down to 29 Palms, and then from 29 Palms we'll continue right on the Victor 208 there. So that actually looks like a good plan there. Majority of the time we're going to be flying the one. Looks like we're going to be flying almost due south, although it is going to be a little bit to the southeast there. So we'll go ahead and file it in even altitude. So we'll make it, if we look at the VFR chart here, looks like just flying, we can make it even at 6,000. We'll do that for our plan here. Let's go ahead and do our navlog. Which, I mean, this will be easy. So yeah, direct to Needles, then direct to 29 Palms basically. And if we take a look here at our low airways chart, we can actually see, looks like we'll be coming in to Needles at around a 330-degree heading, then outbound 224 to hit that Victor 208. So let's take a look at our nav instruments here, and I'm going to pull these up to the other monitor, and we'll go ahead and get everything started and get our clearance before we input anything into the nav section. Let me just grab my paper here. All right. So we have the fabulous Airfoil Labs 172 is what we're flying today. So let's go ahead and take a look at their. So we'll close that window, and we'll go ahead and take a look at their checklists. So we'll pull these right up to here. We'll just assume we've got all the pre-flights done up until. Alright, so starting here, we'll do the before starting engine checklist. So pre-flight inspection, we'll go ahead and say that that's already completed. Cell phones are off, and passenger briefing is going to be complete as well. I don't have anything set up for passengers here. This will be just us. So brakes, test and set. So we look down here, brakes, we're going to test those. Those look good, and we'll set the parking brake. Perfect. Circuit breakers are checked. Let's go down to the instrument panel here. Circuit breakers are all checked. Perfect. And the electrical equipment is off. Perfect. So avionics master is off. Fuel selector valve is both. Fuel shut off valve is in. Perfect. And circuit breakers are all checked in. So, oops. Alright, so starting engine. We're going to go ahead and open the throttle 1/4 inch. Mixtures at idle cutoff. Master on. Flashing beacon is going to be on. We'll go ahead and I've got the door open here. We'll go ahead and close that door, but we'll open the window. So the engine is cold in this case, so we'll do auxiliary fuel pump on, mixture full rich until fuel flow. Let's see here. And there we go. And fuel pump off, and the mixture's the idle cutoff. Perfect. Ignition switch is going to be over here to start. Okay, well. Let's see here. Advanced. Let's see, why are we having issues starting here? There we go. There. And we'll advance this to rich when the engine starts. Perfect. And throttle down to 1000 RPM. So throttle could be down just a little bit. Perfect. And our oil pressure is good, and our oil temperature is good. Perfect. So we're going to lean our mixture just a bit for taxi. You can kind of see it there. And our after start checklist we'll do in just a moment. Let's see here. So after start, flaps are retract, avionics master is on. Radios are turning on. Perfect. All right. Radios are on. Heading indicator is set. Let's see. Where is our heading? Heading's perfect. Transponder. We have it on standby. There we go. Standby. And nav lights, we'll go ahead and throw on the taxi and nav lights as well. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead. We're gonna sit up in the cockpit here. We'll also might as well turn the GPS on while we're at it. We're not really gonna need it. Okay, so let's see here. Alright, let's go ahead and dial up the frequency here at Bullhead for our clearance. We actually should probably file our route here. It looks like somebody else just joined on, so welcome. We're going to go ahead and file our flight plan here from IFP to TRM. The cruising altitude of 5,000, airspeed still 120, and we are not actually doing this in formation right now. This will be about a 50-minute flight. So let's take a look at the route that we decided here. So let's go ahead and we'll pull this back up. We have our route of Needles, which is the EED VOR, Victor 208, and then 29 Palms. So 208 and TNP. Alright, so we're going to go and file that as an IFR plan here. And let's take a look at our clearance. Before we do that, we should probably do ATIS. ATIS is going to be 119.82. So we'll grab the ATIS here. Which doesn't look like it's working, and that might be a PilotEdge thing. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull up our weather here, which we just took a look at, and this is going to be, yeah, altimeter is 3005 here, so we'll just go ahead and grab that altimeter. Be right about there's 3005. All right, and let's go ahead and we'll switch over to our, there's no clearance delivery frequency, so we'll talk to ground and see if ground will give us clearance here, 123.9. All right. Good morning, Bullhead Ground. Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is at the General Aviation Parking. Request clearance to thermal. And actually, I misread that. Ground's actually 118.25, but why isn't this working here? Bullhead Ground, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, radio check. And I'm not actually hearing that, so makes me wonder if I have my audio output set up right. Well, that's odd. We will try. Yeah, sorry about this. Not quite sure why this isn't quite working. This is... Your outputs to the cable input. I mean, we can try. Bullhead Ground, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, radio check. Now, it could be entirely possible I just have the radios tuned improperly. So we'll try 134.65. Oops. 134.65. So we'll try this for LA departure. Let's try this here. LA departure, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, radio check. Hmm. Maybe I've got the wrong mic on. LA Center, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, radio check. Let's see here. We'll try. Let's see if we can't get this troubleshoot. Sorry about this. So we'll see if we can find ourselves on the map here. Should be over there. Says my frequency is 120.8, so for some reason that is not updating. Oh, there we go. Let's see if we can't get this to work here. Sorry about all that. We're troubleshooting a bit. There we go. This, for some reason, yeah, it's not pulling that off of there, so... Yeah, for some reason it's not pulling off of my nav radios. That's okay. So now we've got that figured out. Let's go ahead and try for the ground 118.25. There we go, 118.25 here.
1,000 feet to make that.
There we go.
about 700 feet, but...
Alright, perfect.
So it's 95 Delta, contact SoCal departure. Contact SoCal, so it's not 695 Delta.
Alright, so... Good morning, Bullhead Ground, Cessna 521 Juliet, Papa requests clearance to thermal.
Cessna 521 Juliet, Papa, Bullhead Ground, clearance on the request, anyway.
Alright, so now we're just going to wait for that that clearance. Remember, I submitted the direct to Needles, Victor 208, 229 Palms, and then direct from there. I wonder what we'll have as far as the actual clearance. So let's go ahead and take a look back. If we want to pull up our thing here, looks like we've got Needles at 115.2.
Skyquad Jet Papa cleared to the Thermal Airport through the runway 16 departure procedure. Needles, then as filed. Climb and maintain 7,000. Expect 8,000 5 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 128 point, I'm sorry, departure frequency is 124.85. Squawk 2612.
Alright, so let's go ahead and read that back. And Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is cleared to the thermal airport via the 16 departure procedure. Needles then is filed. Climb maintain 7,000, expect 8,005. Departure on 124.85 and squawk 2612.
Cessna 1 Juliet Papa, read back correct.
Alright, so now that we've got that read back correct, let's go ahead and actually pull up the runway 16 departure procedure here. So... and it looks like that is a GPS departure procedure. So yeah, they want us to go to a GPS fix that... yeah, let's see if we can pull it up on the... let's see if we can pull it up on here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pull it up on my other computer here.
Camarillo Tower 337, we're down, cleared runway 26. Says 337 taxi straight ahead via Foxtrot to the ramp, getting. Straight ahead to the ramp with you, 337.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the approach procedures. Why am I not seeing the runway 16 departure? So let's see if we can get some clarification from the tower on this. Bullhead Ground, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa with the clarification.
Cessna 1 Juliet Papa, go ahead.
Yes, sir, you have me on the runway 16 departure procedure, and all I'm seeing is an RNAV 16 approach. Do you have anything further?
Cessna 1 Juliet Papa, you're going to have to look in the standard departure instruction document that can be found for the airport. It's going to be the ODP.
Copy, thank you. I know I found these before, but usually they have them in there. Let's see, let's get the standard departure. So let's look at the standard departure procedures here. I know I found these once before, but usually they have them on here. So let's KIFP departures. KIFP procedures, there we go. GPS, VOR, DME 34. Instrument approach procedures for the alternate minimums. There we go. There's takeoff minimums. There we go. Muffled bullhead. Minimum climb of 370 degrees per nautical miles to 1,800. Okay, perfect. Approach procedures climb via heading 164 in EED Vortac. Okay, there we go. So we're looking actually right here, the departure procedures. Okay, so we're gonna, for departure procedures, we're gonna climb via heading 164 degrees to the Vortac 33, so that would be EED radial 334. 334. Okay, just direct to that Vortac. Okay, so basically we're just going to take radial 334 directly inbound to the Needles VOR, and then we're going to depart the Needles VOR on a heading of 224 degrees outbound until we hit the 29 Palms VOR. So let's go ahead and we'll get all that programmed here. So my nav radios, the Needles VOR is going to be, and we'll pull that back up. Needles on 115.2. So radial 334 to EED radial 224 for 35, or sorry, 75 nautical miles. And then from there we'll hit the 29 Palms radial 199 for 35 nautical miles. So 29 Palms is going to be 114.2, and it's going to go pretty much directly to Palm Springs, which is the thermal VOR on 116.2, and will be going off of
General Tower, bearing 132 Kilo Tango, ILS 20 right.
21.
Bearing 132 Kilo Tango, General Tower.
Or 21.
Runway
Rather.
20 right. Wind
Perfect.
2008. Clear north.
So after departure, we're going to fly heading 164 until we hit up with the radial 334 on the Needles VOR. So let's go and plug in the Needles VOR at 115.2. So 115.2, and we'll go ahead and put 29 Palms at 114.2 in our standby. Oops. Okay, and we'll go ahead and set that up for radial 334. Perfect. So 115.2, if we take a look at that one. And that's not working for either of these, so...
So it's 192 Mike Whiskey, Charlie clearance. So it's 2 Mike Whiskey, you said you filed or you didn't? I'm not seeing anything. It says 2 Mike Whiskey, just verify you filed it properly and get back to me.
15.2, so we'll go ahead and do 115.2, then our background is going to be 114.2. Alright. Perfect. Okay, so now that we're ready to taxi here, let's go ahead and pull up our airport diagram. And for a GA parking, we're going to get runway 16. We're probably going to be cleared, probably via Alpha 4, Alpha 1, up to the tower here. So, alright. And Bullhead Ground, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is ready to taxi to the active IFR with the numbers.
Cessna 2 Mike Whiskey clearance. The 2 Mike Whiskey, the arrival and departure reports filed properly. Number 521 Juliet Papa, like ground 16, taxi via Alpha.
16 via Alpha 1 Juliet Papa. Alright. So if we're coming out of there, it's going to be a right. So let's go ahead. We're going to do our taxi checklist here. Looks like brakes test. So we're going to remove parking brake here. And we're going to... Alright, and...
2 Kilo Tango, right on Gulf off of 20 right.
Brakes are text.
2 Kilo Tango taxi via Bravo to the ramp. Remain this frequency.
Bravo to the ramp, frequency 2 Kilo Tango,
Alright,
PD.
we've got our before takeoff checklist ready, so let's go ahead and head out to the runway. I think I figured out what my issues with my comm radios are. It's like the comm 1 is tied into the comm 1 is going to be tied in to the radios there. Looks like, ooh, it's 118.2. I don't want 118.2, I believe. Oh, no, I'm looking at the comm radios. There we go. So, yeah, COM 1 and NAV 1 are tied into the GPS, COM 2 and NAV 2 are the standalones down there. So let's go ahead, we'll switch over to the NAV 2 radio with our departure frequency, which is going to be 124.85. So, 24.85, and we'll actually be ready with that on the COM 2 radio there.
So it's 2 Mike Whiskey clearance.
So, perfect. Let's see. Do we have anybody watching right now? Or have I just
So it's 2 Mike Whiskey, okay, stand by. I'm still on scene. I'm going to have to look it up manually in the system.
And I've just been talking to myself, it looks like.
Says to Mike Whiskey, I found the problem was you filed for Alpha, November Alpha, and that's why it didn't pop out up here.
Okay, well, not talking entirely to myself then. Let's see. I'm wondering, did the video feed freeze or? Oh, it says that I'm offline.
Says the to Mike
San
Whiskey.
Francisco clearance, Australian 081 heavy, clearance to
November Alpha
McCarran
1.
International.
I've got it amended now. Clear to the John Wayne Airport. After departure, turn right heading 220 for radar vectors to CLV2R. Then direct John Wayne Airport. Climb maintain 2000. Expect 3000 5 minutes after departure.
So let's go ahead.
Departure frequency is 127.2. Squawk 4165.
Let's see. Our tower frequency for Bullhead is going to be Bullhead Tower 123.9. So we'll go ahead and set that.
Sky 2 Mike Whiskey, the routing again after departure, turn right heading 220 for Renova.
So 123.7. And let's see here. So 123.9. Alright, so we're on the tower frequency here. We've got time to do our before takeoff checklists here. So, parking brake set.
So it's 2 Mike Whiskey, read back correct.
Passenger seat backs, seats and seat belts, doors and windows. Close that window there. Perfect. So, doors and windows are clear. Flight controls free and clear. Perfect. Fuel quantity is checked. Fuel selector valve rechecked. Mixture rich. Throttle up to 1800. Throttle's at 1800. Magnetos. Let's see here. We're gonna check left with a drop in RPM.
San Francisco clearance, Australian 081 heavy, clearance to McCarran International Airport.
Australian 81 heavy, San Francisco clearance, clear to Las Vegas Airport, port 6 departure, Clovis transition as filed, climb via SID, except maintain 5000. Expect flight level 310, 5 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 135.1.
Elevator trim
Squawk 43.
is set for
46.
takeoff. I can actually. There we go. Set for takeoff.
Cleared to McCarran International Airport. Port 6 departure, Clovis transition, then as filed. Climb via SID, except maintain 5000.
Perfect.
Expect flight level 310 5 minutes after departure. Departure on 135.1. Squawk 4346, Australian 081 heavy.
Australian 81 heavy, you're back correct.
And Bullhead Tower, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is ready to go, runway 16.
So 521 Juliet Papa, tower runway 16, cleared for takeoff when calm.
16 clear for takeoff, 1 Juliet Papa. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're going to release our parking brake here. Taxi out onto the runway. Remember, we're going to go ahead and depart on heading 164 until we hit the Needles VOR, which I have set here. Let's see. And trying to get the ADF to work. This is actually my first time really with this particular aircraft, at least anything IFR related. So throttle's full, mixture's rich, elevator control. We're gonna lift the nose wheel here at 55.
John Wayne Ground, Cessna 192 Mike Whiskey is on the west ramp, ready to taxi. Cessna 192 Mike Whiskey, John Ground, Roger, contact west ground 3225.
Beautiful.
3225 for Sue Mike Whiskey, thank you.
Excellent. we're going to climb up to 7,000, and we'll be over to departure in just a moment. And climb speed 70 to 80, so we are in the green there. Let's do our after takeoff checklist here. Oil pressure is good. Flaps are retracted, and we'll get the lighting here in just a moment.
John Wayne Ground, Cessna 192 Mike Whiskey, West Ramp with information golf, ready to taxi. Cessna 192 Mike Whiskey, John Ground, runway 20 right at Kilo, taxi via Bravo. Roger, taxi via Bravo to 20 right at Kilo for 192 Mike Whiskey.
Alright, so now we are right on there. That 334.
Cessna 1 Juliet Pop, contact departure.
Over departure 1 Juliet Papa, good day. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're going to flip over to the COM 2. And let's see here. SoCal departure, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is with you, climbing through 2,000 for 7,000.
Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, Los Angeles, center ident.
Ident 1 Juliet Papa. So we're going to go ahead and ident there.
Cessna 1 Juliet Papa, radar contact 3 miles south of Bullhead Airport, try and maintain 8,000.
Up to 8,000, 1 Juliet Papa. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, continue our climb up to 8,000, and we're going to turn a bit towards that VOR there. Actually, my apologies, we're doing a back course, so we're going to turn a little bit more to that direction. There we go. And we're going to try to take that 334 radial all the way in. Now, okay, there we go. Alright, so 15.2. Alright.
Cessna 5 Bravo, contact Henderson Tower 125.1, we'll see it.
So there we go. So we're going to pay attention to our climb speed as well as our rate of climb here. Looks like we're still climbing through about 4,000 right now. I'm trying to get on that, basically the back course. And then from here, we'll go ahead and switch over to radial 224. Once we hit the Needles VOR, which we're about 16 miles out from. Alright, so let's see if we've got anybody watching here. Still no, but that's alright. This is more for my own amusement than anything else, but yeah, that's about it. So let's see, yeah, still about 15 miles out from the Needles VOR, and I'm not a huge fan of this, these instruments here, specifically the, the nav instruments here. I mean, we're definitely off course, and I have a feeling that's largely because I'm flying the wrong back course here. And we're just hit about 5,000 feet. We're climbing comfortably at about 500 feet per minute, which is about normal for the 172 here. And actually with that recent change, I'm wondering if I just haven't been nearly aggressive enough trying to re-intercept that approach course. Normally we'd want to fly at about a 45-degree angle to. We'll see if that's going to turn. It's either going to go further away from course or and bearing in mind we're only about 12 miles from the.
This is 95 Delta, contact SoCal approach 134.2.
The airport, and actually looks like we're coming back in a little bit, so I just wasn't nearly aggressive enough on my approach course. So yeah, let's see here. Cruise performance tables. In route climb, airspeed 70 to 85 knots.
Cessna 6295 Delta SoCal approach, leave above airspace in 3 miles. Resume navigation and cancel the altitude restriction, altimeter 3003.
That just a bit. We're working on leaning the mixture. There we go.
Cessna 2 Sierra Papa traffic, 10 to 11 o'clock and 2 miles southbound, altitude indicates 5,500, type of no.
Alright, and then now all that we're really doing is just going along for the ride. Once again, our cruising altitude is going to be about 8,000 feet.
Cessna 2 Sierra, maybe try protecting your mic when you're transmitting there, because it still hears a lot of the noise, but the traffic's now just to the left of your 12 o'clock and 2 miles.
Alright.
Roger. Says 2 Sierra Papa, he should be no factor, he's crossing your 12 o'clock now, still southbound.
Alright, coming up through 6,500 here. And yep, looks like we're gradually getting back on course. So with our 115.2, we're going to go ahead and use our nav 2 for the moment. Radial 224 outbound. So 21. 240. 224 outbound is what we're going to have on our nav 2 there. We really want to be pitching over to the left. Unfortunately, this doesn't have aileron trim, but that's okay. There we go. Now we're almost right back on to our inbound radial. And it's about 8 miles out from the Needles VOR there. And then it'll be about another 75 between Needles and 29 Palms. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and make our turn. Back to the proper radial. With about 500 feet to go in our climb here.
Listen, Pilot Delta, freeze change. You ready to cancel your radar?
All right.
That's 95 Delta, radar service terminated. Squawk 1201 for exchange proceed.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can't try to trim just a little bit. And it looks like we're about 200 out, so I'm going to reduce my throttle just a bit, and we're going to level off here in about another 150 feet. And we're off of that radial again. I turned a little too early. Still 6 miles out from the Needles VOR, and remember, as soon as you get, or when you get closer, rather, to these VORs, it gets a little bit more sensitive. And 8,000 feet, so we're going to level off. Just like that. And lean the mixture a little bit more. And keep our throttle. We're not going to go full out here. We're going to trim this to keep us right at about 8,000. We seem to really want to be climbing here. So we're going to set our cruise speed probably around 100 to 120. I mean, there's no reason to go slow. And that's almost close enough. We're 3.2 DME out there, so I'm going to go ahead and change that over to 224. 224 is going to be right about there. And once we hit over the threshold of needles here, we're going to turn to the appropriate altitude here. We're going to track 224 outbound. And 2 miles from the VOR. We're also going to see what we can do about maybe increasing our speed just a little bit since we are going to be at cruise. And I'm going to see if I can get us down that extra 100 feet just nice and gently. Now I'm increasing a little bit of power, which means it's going to naturally want to pitch up. And I'm just going to counteract that by pitching down. 1.6 miles out. So I'm going to wait until we're over the VOR and then make our turn naturally towards that 224 radial.
This is 192 Mike Whiskey, SoCal departure, radar contact, longitude 3000.
And we can hear the other traffic, obviously, on there, which isn't really a big concern for us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn our taxi and landing lights off as well, now that we're established in our cruise. Whew. Oh, and we are outbound, so we're going to make that turn towards the 224 radial. And I'm going to let us slide, or rather descend just a little bit in the turn here. And I'm going to shoot a course of about, I'll just go direct west about 260 until we hit back up with the 224 radial here. Probably actually a little bit more westerly, a little bit more northwesterly of a course rather. And yep, so we're going to wait for that radial to come back in since I overshot it. So I was worried about the lights there. A little bit of a nuisance with the yoke that you can't hide in this model, but overall this is it's a fun aircraft to fly, much better than the default.
That's 2 Mike Whiskey, Cessna 2 Mike Whiskey, turn right heading 015, vector ILS runway 20 right approach.
There we go, and now it's swinging back in, so we're going to turn a little bit more of that 224 course here.
0115.
And we overshot just a little bit again.
1 Juliet Papa, contact Los Angeles 133.75.
133.75, good day, 1 Juliet Pilot. So 133.75. And yeah, we're way overshot that, but that's okay. So 133.75. And we're going to switch back over to our COM 1. So and ready, and we're going to check in with them. SoCal departure, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa's with you, 8,000.
That's 521 Juliet Papa SoCal, Los Angeles Center, Palm Springs altimeter 3002.
3002 1 Juliet Papa, thank you. And, oops, we were Los Angeles Center there, sorry. So 3002 is going to be right about there. And now we're going to be a little bit easier to get on course. You can see the needle's coming in much more slowly. Onto that 224.
What do you want? 23 miles here, no count approach.
Beautiful. And we're a good 200 above, so we
Good morning, 123 Mike Sierra. I think you're not understanding the PilotEdge coverage area does not cover any of those airports. If you're not going from San Francisco International Airport to an airport inside the ZLA area, or from an airport inside the ZLA area to San Francisco International Airport, you're not getting any coverage out there.
Yeah, and they're a little strict about their coverage area, but
you won't get one. You just remain outside of it.
And yeah, we're a little bit away from our desired course.
And only 3 miles here at Half Moon Bay, that's not inside the Bravo, correct? What's the identifier for it?
Alright, oh wow, and it looks like there's 4 people watching now. Hi, welcome. We're doing a flight from the Laughlin International Airport to Thermal, the Jacqueline base for the PilotEdge series, their alphabet flight challenges. We just crossed over the Needles VOR. In fact, we're about 7.3 miles away from it. And we're tracking the 224 radial outbound reasonably. Ish. We're under IFR, talking with Los Angeles Center at the moment, and 8,000 feet, trying to just interact, or I'm sorry, we're cruising at 8,000, just trying to hit that 224 radial here. You can see this is the instrument I'm using to try to navigate, tracking that radial outbound. My first time with this particular aircraft, and it's given me a little tiny bit of trouble, but I'm going to say that's more user error.
That's a 2 White Whiskey Fighting 360. I need to move you a little to the west here. You're getting blown by the wind or something.
So we can see, or rather we can hear, a bunch of other pilots also on the PilotEdge servers, talking to actual air traffic control. It's staffed about 15 hours a day. It's a fantastic service for anybody who either wants to bring in an extra level of realism or is working on their licensure. Oh, and looks like somebody else just joined. Hi. So, as I said, we're trying to track that 224 radial outbound, and we're just a little bit to the left, of course, so we're gonna try to swing around to the right, and about halfway through here we're gonna switch over to the 29 Palms VOR, which I've got loaded into our secondary spot in the nav1 radio, and I was trying to correct for being about 100 over 8,000, and now we're about 600 below. I'm using the flight SATEC. I'm using the Cessna yoke as well as the SATEC pedals, and they're fantastic. I love them. So much nicer than the joystick I was using before. Gracias, Rush. I'm gonna give away the fact that I don't speak Spanish here, but ¿eres de California o no? All right. 12 and a half miles out of the Needles VOR, and it looks like, yeah, we're coming a little bit more in line with that 224 radial that I was trying to intercept there. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm assuming, hopefully, and our engine sounds and the PilotEdge coming through. I know I had some issues. There were some user error a little bit earlier in this stream, but hopefully those have been rectified.
Cessna 20 Papa contact, SoCal approach 135.4.
All right. So everybody doing well today? I hope.
Cessna 172 Papa SoCal approach, altitude altimeter 3004, after Beijing, descend and maintain 4,000.
And actually, as part of the PilotEdge service, you can see they've got a bunch of drones in addition to other people flying around. We've actually got traffic right there, about the 12:30 or so, crossing horizontal. Looks like a little bit above us, but shouldn't be a factor. It's just kind of nice to occasionally see people flying with you. So we've hit about our 8,000 feet that I was going for as well. And a little pocket of turbulence that's making it a little bit difficult to stay on there. Perfect. Our vertical speed's back to where I'd like it. So we're going to see. I'm going to make a little bit more aggressive of a turn to the right to see if I can get a little more closely aligned with that 224 radial. Although I mean, they give a pretty good grace. I don't want to say grace period. That's the wrong terminology, but they're pretty understanding, and usually they don't say anything unless you're around greater than 5 miles to one direction or the other.
Cessna 2 Mike Whiskey, turn right heading 080.
20 miles out from the Needles VOR now. Still climbing just a little bit. I did add a little bit of power, trying to speed up a bit. I mean, it should only be about a 50-minute flight at around 120 knots. Looks like we're going around 115 right now, so. And I'm not using the autopilot or anything with this. I'm just hand flying.
So that's 2 Mike Whiskey, 3 miles from Snake, flight 180, maintain 3000 until established, localized, clear out this runway 20 right approach. That's 2 Mike Whiskey, doesn't look like you're making the turn, flying 190 to join.
There we go. I'm gonna pay attention to RPMs too. Looks like we were running a
That's 172 Sierra Papa second.
little hot. And let's see.
That's 2 Sierra Papa, pause is approved.
See if we can't maybe lean that a little bit too. Looks like our oil pressure and fuel flows are still doing fine. Vacuum pressure's good.
So that's 2 Mike Whiskey, maintain 3000 until Snake.
Perfect. And just because of the way I've got the weight and balance set up, we are a little bit more, leaning a little bit more to the left here. Alright. So from here, we're just pretty much hanging out. Yeah, about 26 miles, so we'll switch over to the 29 Palms VOR here in just a moment. But first, I'm going to attempt to gain back that altitude. We've kind of flirting between 7,900 and 8,100, which ideally I wouldn't like to see us do. I'd like to stay right at about 8,000.
So that's 2 Mike Whiskey, contact John Wayne Tower at Lemon 126.8. Cessna 90 X-ray, contact SoCal approach 135.4. Golden Eagle 1790 X-ray, SoCal approach Ontario, altimeter 3002.
Alright, so let's go ahead and see if we can hit that 29 Palms VOR is going to be 114.2. I'm going to see if I can hit it with the, yeah, I can't hit it with the DME, so we'll just hang out there. Looks like still about 30 miles from Needles.
Alright, 2055.
All right. So just taking a look through the checklists here. So we just completed the cruise checklist, you know, when we got to our cruise altitude here, and taking a look, we're a little ways definitely from the descent portion, but it's always good to kind of keep an eye on what we're gonna need to do. Don't really have to worry about seat belts. The fuel selector's been at both the entire time. Let's see. Yeah, our mixture's a little bit leaned there. We've trimmed out, and still trying to see. It keeps wanting to turn to the left here. If we take a look out there, there we go. I mean, we're not really parallel as far as these the wings go, or that out on the horizon. But I mean, everything so far looks good. Just in the middle of a cruise, I've got, you know, random failures and everything set, so there's the chance we might run into a failure, but who knows. While we're here, might as well let's brief some emergencies. Engine failure during takeoff, we're beyond beyond that, but if the engine were to fail, try to hit the ideal airspeed of 70 or 65 depending on flat positions. Taking a look at the mixtures here. Let's see here. Master switch, there we go. And this really wants to keep turning to the right, which is probably why we're not tracking the VOR like I'd like us to. Let's see here. And right now I'm just trying to amuse myself more or less. I mean, we're about halfway through our point on the... Oh, there we go. And we've got 114.2 here is going to be our Needles VOR. So go ahead and switch that off, and we are perfect on there. And yeah, we're almost actually exactly where we'd want to be on the inbound course as far as Needles go, or I'm sorry, 29 Palms goes. Now we'll keep flying that. Looks like the thermal is going to be our next one after 29 Palms, and that's going to be on 116.2, which is nice and easy. So we can hit that 116.2. Switch our cursors around here, and there we go. And yep, looks like about still 37 miles to the 29 Palms VOR here. And we're just gonna kind of hang out, wait for somebody else to join us, and kind of take it from there. Alright, so we're gonna set this over off to the side here, and just wait for when we're gonna need that descent checklist. Should be probably about another half an hour or so. I will say though that the handling, especially of this, the Airfoil Labs Cessna, is just fantastic, especially compared to the default. We are technically flying IFR, but since we're in VFR conditions, we'll go ahead and keep an eye out. Keep scanning for traffic. I've got multi-monitor display, so that makes it easier for me. You guys are just looking at the center monitor as it stands. And then we'll go ahead and why not into the COM 2? Let's dial in our CTAF, our Unicom frequency for thermal, or the Jacqueline Airport here. It's going to be 123.0. So 123, 123.0. I lost a little bit of altitude there. That's what happens when you don't devote your full attention to what the aircraft's doing. And we're a little off course as well. So we'll hit that. Yep, 123.0 right there. And try to get a little bit more in line with both our vertical and horizontal navigation here. So we need to go about 110 feet up, and I'm working on getting us back onto that 224 radial here. About 25 miles out from the 29 Palms VOR. And then if we take a look here, from the 29 Palms VOR, it's about 35 miles to the Palm Springs, the thermal VOR, which is at the Palm Springs Airport, the Jacqueline Cochran Regional. And for some reason, I just closed that instead of minimizing it. That's my apologies. Or my bad, rather. Alright. And engine instruments and everything still look good. Remember, we're constantly checking to make sure that the engine instruments as well as all the flight instruments are within norms. And like I said, I think I have all the weight and balance set off to favor the left side. I believe we can actually pull that up real quick. I think that's what's causing our issues. So yeah, I've got the pilot set at 160, rear passenger at 120. So yeah, the center of gravity is a little off, but overall not nothing we can't deal with.
Earth 53 Golf Romeo, Joshua departure squawk 56779. Cessna 90 X-ray contact SoCal approach 109.6.
And 20 miles to the Palm Springs VOR. And we're right about back onto our original course, that radial we were following in.
Cessna 1790 X-ray SoCal approach, flight 140, vector visual approach runway 27, advise you have weather, altimeter 3002. Cessna 90 X-ray, heading 140. Brand 3 Golf Romeo, radar contact 10 miles northeast of Victorville, VOR. You're cleared to Bakersfield Airport as filed. Maintain 1010,000. Brand 3 Golf Romeo, contact Joshua approach 126.1.
Alright. Now that we're back aligned with the proper radial here, we can try to fix a little bit of the altitude issue. Even though it's essentially a non-issue. I mean, it's only 100 feet off of our assigned, but why not at least give it a try.
Brand 323 Golf Romeo, Josh approach, Palmdale altimeter 30 right. Cessna 2 Sierra Papa contact SoCal approach 127.2.
And then I think that was for Sarah Papa, not Juliet Papa, but we'll see if he repeats the instruction.
Cessna 172 Sierra Papa SoCal approach, you should be maintaining 4,000. The John Line altimeter 3001, advise you have weather.
Yeah, that was 172 Sierra Papa, so that wasn't us.
Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, fly present heading, vector visual approach runway 20 right, pick up the weather. At 1228, SoCal departure radar contact, climb via the city, except maintain 1313,000. Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, roger, sit.
Alright. 13 miles to the 29 Palms VOR. And we're going to fly the 199 radial outbound. So we'll get that set up here on our nav 2 there. And let's go ahead and see if we can't plan out our approach. I mean, there are a couple of instrument procedures that we could do. I mean, there's 2 stars and let's see here, a couple of RNAVs. There's a VOR DME for runway 30, and then a VOR Alpha as well. I'm actually alright with just doing a straight visual approach. I think that's probably gonna be what we'll wind up requesting. The last data had it as clear with good visibility, so
United 1228, contact Los Angeles Center 135.5. At 1228, Los Angeles Center, cleared by Redinti, climb maintain level 230.
alright. So none of that traffic's for us. I'm expecting a frequency change here shortly over to the SoCal approach. We're only about 45 miles, 44 miles from our destination, but we're also only at 8,000 feet. Shouldn't be terribly difficult to get a good good descent going and make it in. Ooh. Yeah, another one of those issues of balance there, trying to keep the aircraft on course, although I will say this flight model is fantastic. I mean, earlier I pulled up the weight and fuel dialogue here, and I mean, you can see just the difference in, 160 and 120 versus, 120 and 140. You can feel pretty much feel the difference that it makes just from a strictly a flight models standpoint. And we're about 4 miles from the 29 Palms VOR.
Jackie 664 SoCal departure radar contact, climb maintain 4000.
So it'll be a turn once we hit the VOR here.
Aircraft has in front of practice ILS at John White second.
To 199 degrees. This is going to be a left turn to 199.
22 Bravo Charlie, squawk 21378.
And we'll see if we can get established on here. In just a minute, this is going to switch from a to a from on both.
Sky 2 Bravo Charlie, radar contact over data point. Maintain VFR at all times throughout all approaches. Fly heading 350, maintain VFR connected for the practice ILS runway 20 right approach.
Let's see here. Yep, 37 miles.
Cessna 90 X-ray, maintain 7000, contact SoCal approach 124.35.
Thermal VOR there, that 116.2 that I just switched us over to. And I'm going to go ahead and switch. I'm going to go ahead and make that turn to the 199 degrees. Which will be pretty much right over that VOR.
Cessna 1790 X-ray, SoCal approach heading 180. You should have maintained 5000 vector visual approach runway 27.
And I think I made that turn actually just a wee bit too early.
Yeah, 1228, contact Los Angeles 133.55.
Yeah, because now we're from. If we hit
that. Forward to it, clear right Ventura, climb maintain 6000.
Right there. So we'll just go ahead and see if we can't hit that the proper
Actual 28 Los
heading
Angeles,
here.
climb tape level 320.
There we go, the needle's starting to come alive. Just a little bit here. And then we'll hit that 199 inbound almost perfectly. Right about now. Perfect, and yeah, we're just about 50 feet above where we need to be. Beautiful. So we've got our nav2 over on that 116.2, and let's see if we can't talk about our inbound just a little bit. Which is almost perfect, yeah. So we're flying roughly the right courses here. You can see pulled out the 29 palms right there. With that 35 nautical miles, I mean, it looks like we're only about 30 from the thermal VOR there. I'm waiting on instructions to either contact the next controller or begin my descent.
Cessna 0 X-ray fighting 240, Center maintain 4000. Cessna 2 Bravo Charlie, traffic, numerous targets between your 12 o'clock and your 11 o'clock between 1 and 4 miles, indicating AMBO 3200.
So let's take a look at the altitude that thermal's going to be at here. It looks like thermal has...
That's 2 Bravo Charlie. Doesn't look like any of them are currently a threat to you, but just keep your eyes open.
Yeah, elevation of negative 115 feet.
Cessna 0 X-ray fighting 270, Limburg Airport, 1 o'clock and 15 miles.
So we're going to basically have to descend all the way through 8,000.
270.
It's going to be way up there. Maybe if we pull up the sectional here.
Cessna 0 X-ray clear with approach 127.
So
Cherokee 410 contact, point me go approach 124.7.
here shortly we should receive
At 1228, leaving the coverage
instructions.
area, radar service terminated, and you have a good flight to Hawaii. We'll see you.
I mean, ideally we should receive instructions here to either begin our descent or...
Cherokee 664 one good approach. After Ventura, descent power discretion maintain 4000, standby route altimeter 3000.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the airport right there. Let's see here. We're going to want to be at least 8,000, so I'm going to start our descent checklist. We're about 20 miles out. So, seatbelts are secure. Alright. Descent checklist, seatbelts secure. Fuel selector is at both. We're going to go ahead and enrich our mixture. Engine instruments are in the green. Vacuum pressure, oil temperature and pressure, fuel's good. Beautiful. Avionics are set. Looks like 123.0 is loaded on our COM 2. Avionics are set. Nav GPS switch is set. Aircraft lights as required. We'll go ahead and throw on.
Cessna 90 X-ray. Just getting ready to switch you there. Contact tower 1.3 set.
Oh, and it looks like we got 2 traffic targets.
Cessna 1 Juliet Papa, contact SoCal approach 126.7.
126.71 Juliet Papa, good day. So 126.7, beautiful. So there's our approach right there. SoCal approach, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is with you, 8,000.
Cessna 521 Juliet Papa, SoCal approach, altimeter 299, advise you have thermal weather and approach request if any, otherwise expect this approach.
1 Juliet Papa does have the weather at thermal, and we'll take the visual. So 29908 is going to be our altimeter. Just going to be right about there. And just basically let them know that we're alright with the visual. And alright. Looks like we got some traffic over off of the left side too, right about there, in addition to the ones we saw below. So anyway, back to our descent checklist here. We don't need our pitot heat, and we switched the lighting. So now we've got our landing checklist there, and we're not terribly concerned about that. We're only probably need about 1,000 feet. And I'd say we're probably going to go in on runway 35. 1235, and that'll be plenty of space for what we need. And we're about 15 miles out. The airport should just be over there. But I'm not seeing it yet.
Says 1 Juliet Papa Thermal Airport, 12 to 1 o'clock on 14 miles.
Oh, 1 Juliet Papa Airport in sight. So,
That's 1 Juliet Papa Clear Vision approach Thermal Airport, no traffic observed. Change to advisory frequencies approved. Port traffic cancellation is frequency was set.
1 Juliet Papa is cleared visual into thermal, and we'll go ahead and take that IFR cancellation at this time.
This is 1 jet, Alpha cancellation received. You have a good one.
You as well, sir. Thanks for the help. So we're going to go ahead and start on our descent here.
Cessna 2 Bravo Charlie flighting 290.
And we'll switch over to COM 2 since we already canceled our IFR. And here we go. So we're going to make our initial position announcement here. Thermal traffic, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is approximately 12 miles out, inbound, full stop, runway 12 thermal. And we're going to continue to make our position announcements here. So let's go ahead and make sure that we actually see that airport. Looks like we're going to be heading right for it here. I mean, they gave us a really, really high approach. So I'm going to reduce the throttle back almost to idle here. And keep in mind we've got targets right there. Those look like nav lights. Then we've got VFR traffic also over to the left. Should not be a factor though. There is the thermal airport. So we already called that we were going to be going to runway 35. Let's see if we can't, oops, see if we can't see what we've got going on here. So that's going to be the airport or the runway that we're going to try to go on to. We're going to see if we can't just make an extended base and final. That'll be, yeah, runway 35 right there. So we're going to go ahead and let them know about our intentions. Thermal traffic, Cessna 521 Juliet Papa is approximately 9 miles out. We'll be entering a left base for runway 35 thermal. And actually, we're not even really going to be so much entering a left base as turning essentially directly onto final, rather an extended final. Hi there, whoever just joined. We're going in for a landing here on runway 35 at thermal. You can actually see we've got the airport right there, and there's runway 35 that we're going to be landing on. We didn't get cleared to start our descent from 8,000 feet until about 15 miles out, so it's a little bit of a rapid descent down to pattern altitude. The altitude here at thermal is negative 115 feet, so I'm trying to balance an approach with an approach with a reasonable speed. Right now it looks like we're passing just through 5,000. I'll go ahead and slow the descent here. Woo! A little bit of a wind shear there. Out of I'm going to go into slow the descent once we reach about 4,000. I want to make sure that we've got plenty of time to reach where we, rather the speeds that we need to reach here. So we'll go ahead and I think from here I'll go ahead and keep that throttle down near idle. I want to get us down to a safe flap speed. Lower a notch of flaps here. So 80 knots. We're going to go ahead and lower 10 degrees of flaps. And we're going to continue our descent. We're going to essentially be setting ourselves up for an extended final out here at thermal. We'll go ahead and make sure we've got all of our lights on. And I don't see any traffic in the vicinity of the airport, so always a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and also increase my descent angle here, and we're going to do our before landing checklist. So comms checks complete. Fuel selector is already on both. We just checked the landing lights. Seatbelts are on. Flaps. Let's go ahead and we'll lower our second notch of flaps here. Carb heat is off. Normal approach is going to be a 60 to 70 knots, so we're trying to keep our approach there. Alright, and we aren't doing a short or a soft field approach. We've got plenty of room here. So it's just a matter of setting ourselves up for that final, which we are still a little bit high. So I'm going to see what I can do about increasing my descent rate without increasing airspeed that much, which actually worked good. We can continue to go down, not entirely pleasant for the passengers, but with the I mean, they only gave us 15 miles to do a descent from essentially 8,000 down to below sea level. Alright, and here soon we're going to go ahead and get ourselves set up on that final approach path. We'll let traffic know what we're doing here. We're about 6 miles out. So, thermal traffic, Cessna 521 Julia Papa is turning a 6 mile final for runway 35 thermal. And if you joined in after we got our transition, or rather our clearance from the approach, I'm actually on the PilotEdge network right now. So we had air traffic control for the majority of the flight. The only reason we're not under tower control right now is because thermal, the Jacqueline Cochran Regional Airport is an untowered airport. So we're just turning, like I said, about our 6 mile final here. We're down to about 2,000 feet right now, which we are definitely still a little bit higher than I'd like for the approach. We're going to lower our final selection of flaps right now and get established on that final approach course. You can see it looks like a Pappy on the left side of the runway here, just coming into visual range, and actually has us right about where we need to be from the approach standpoint. Once again, on that before landing checklist, our normal approach is going to be at a 60 to 70 knots, and we're kind of right at the upper end of that at about 70 knots. And as always, we're going to keep an eye out. I don't see any aircraft in the pattern here. And we're about 4.5 miles. So in about another half a mile, I'm going to make another position announcement, just letting everybody know where it is that we are. So thermal traffic, Cessna 521 Julia Papa is approximately 4 mile final, runway 35 full stop thermal. And when we're making those announcements, keep in mind that we're saying essentially who we are, where we are, what we want. We're also ending, since it's an uncontrolled airport, we're also ending with the airport that the traffic is meant for. In this case, thermal or Jacqueline Cochran Regional. That way, if somebody just catches the tail end of the transmission, they know what airport is being mentioned. And actually, if you look at the Pappy, we're just a little bit too low right now, coming in about 1,600 feet. Still on about a 3 mile final at this point. Our flaps are lowered completely. And right now it's just a matter of bringing it in. So we're at the lower end of our approach speed right now. I mean, technically we could go down to about 55 knots, which is right above sol speed. So take a look, we've got 2 aircraft right there that look like drone aircraft. They shouldn't really be a factor unless they're going in for the other runway. It looks like we've got another aircraft right there. That is one nice thing about the PilotEdge service is even around airports like this where they don't necessarily offer ATC services, they have traffic, which is always a good idea to know how to keep an eye out for. And now, looks like according to our visual indicators here, we are just about ready, or we're just about back established on that course. And for some reason, I thought it was coming for runway 35, but apparently I've been calling out the wrong runway here. Looks like we are going in on 17, so that was my bad for calling the wrong runway there. I should have known, but that's definitely an issue that I continue to have. Let's see here, and of course it's one of the few areas somebody's actually watching. All right, so we are a little bit fast on the approach here. So thermal traffic says 521 Juliet Papa is short final runway 17 full stop thermal. And just one more little position announcement here. Now that we're over the runway threshold, we're just going to bring our throttle back to idle and give us a little bit, and just kind of gently lower the nose there. We should be able to apply some brakes and make this left turn out here. Beautiful. We're going to go ahead and raise our flaps here and call that we are clear of the runway. So, thermal traffic says 521 Juliet Papa, taxi to terminal, clear of runway 17 at thermal. Just kind of let everybody know where it is that we are at and what it is that we're doing. So let's go ahead and perform our after landing checklist now that we're clear of the runway threshold here. So after landing, we have avionics master, or oops, parking. So exterior lights as required. We do not need the landing lights. We do need the taxi lights. We can turn the strobe lights off as well. Pitot heat is off. We're going to lean our mixture a bit for taxi. Flaps are up, and we can turn our transponder to standby. And the elevator trim set for takeoff. Right about there. So let's go ahead and we'll remove that for the time being and taxi into parking here. So overall, not a bad flight at all. Once again, the Airfoil Labs Cessna is just light years ahead of the default Cessna. Much more responsive and much better. Just in terms of what to expect with the flight dynamics and realism as well. So perfect. I'm just gonna taxi, and I tried to get some better scenery for this, but it didn't really pan out. I was missing a couple of libraries and didn't really let me know until I had already booted this up for the flight. So we're done pretty much with the radio traffic at least, and I can turn us back to the approach. You can actually hear. Like I said, I don't know if you were with me when we're actually talking to approach, but we'll turn that frequency back on. I already canceled our IFR flight plan.
Red 3 Golf Romeo 17 5000.
And so if I hadn't have done that, I would have canceled here on the ground. Doesn't look like there's going to be a taxiway for us to go, so we'll just kind of go off road a little bit here, up to the terminal. Which, like I said, this is not the best or most realistic scenery, but you know, you make do with what you've got. So we'll go ahead and bring this in here, and let's do our parking checklist. So for parking, we're going to put our parking brake
Red 2 Golf
on.
Romeo turning 050.
Avionics master is going off. Panel lights are not controlled here, but those will go off. Mixture, will bring that down to the idle cutoff. Turn our master switch off. And the ignition switch right here goes off. We'll open a window. And there we go. We don't need to record the Hobbs time. Then the cabin air is up there and not something that we can really modify here. Alright, that is just about that. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you guys next time.